This is the hunting ground for the trapjaw ants. None of my other colonies are as merciless and precise as they are. Nothing that enters the vivarium leaves it alive, and they hunt even when they are not hungry. The only thing they know is prey, and what they don't know is mercy. Once grabbed by them, their pincers, optimized for hunting, grip you and never let go. The unfortunate prey is riddled with stings that paralyze, but do not kill. It is dragged into the nest where the colony eats it alive. And this exact colony has disappeared. Okay, let's take a step back. Recently, I showed you how I set up a wonderful vivarium for our hunters. With a lot of love and attention to detail, I tried to make sure they felt absolutely comfortable. And when the time came to put them into the vivarium, they accepted it really well. They conquered the whole enclosure and were unstoppable. Every corner of a vivarium was under their control, and when I added crickets, their hunting instincts immediately kicked in. They scented their unsuspecting prey like predatory cats, waited for the right moment but when the vivarium needed them the most, they vanished. I've spent the last few weeks trying to find them. Whenever I look into the vivarium, it's empty. It feels like nothing lives or wants to live here anymore. And to be completely honest, it felt like this vivarium was a failure. A well-intentioned attempt that was ultimately doomed to fail. And my heart was as empty as this vivarium. And as I looked at the abandoned exit, which was carefully dug by the ants, something caught my eye. A small, tiny detail, barely visible to the human eye, but still there and present. This water feeder here has created a moist patch that acts like an oasis in the desert. And this oasis has an astonishing amount of movement. If you look very closely, we can see exactly what it is. The ones who are happiest about the moisture are springtails. We put these little tropical springtails into the vivarium as a cleanup crew to protect our setup from damage. They love moisture and have probably made the water feeders one of their bases. I moisten the vivarium regularly so that the plants have enough water. And our ants, if they are still alive, also need high humidity. But the surface dries out quickly, so this little oasis gives us a glimpse of what it looks like beneath the surface. And although we have the springtails, we unfortunately still have mold on the remains of the ants' past prey. Not a springtail was to be seen there. I can imagine that the surface is too dry for them. This is a problem we need to fix. Or so I thought, because when we look at the other leftover scraps, we discover new life again. A white isopod fought its way into the frame, going about its daily routine completely relaxed. These white isopods are often invisible because they gather under the cricket remains and, in the moisture that collects under the bodies, comfortably begin to feast in the scraps. If you lift the remains, you can see how a group of isopods scatters in every direction, continuing to rummage through the soil and eat unwanted debris. But they don't reach the walls and ceiling of the vivarium. And there we find evidence of something that can be catastrophic for any setup. Viewers of my channel will already be familiar with them. They are, without a doubt, fungus gnats. Again, these fungus gnats only live for about a week, but during this time they lay up to 300 eggs. After a few days, these hatch into larvae which break havoc in the soil, feeding on plant roots. They pupate in no time. The entire development from egg to gnat takes only 28 days. Anyone who detects a fungus gnat infestation too late must be prepared to lose all the plants in the vivarium. I was able to prevent the worst with predatory mites. We already saw them briefly alongside the springtails, and they actually hunt springtails too. But in reality, I used the predatory mites against a much bigger threat in the vivarium. You will find out about that in a future video. Now that the danger has been averted, we can clean up the vivarium. To do this, we spray the glass with distilled water, loosening the dust of the last few weeks from the lid. This is very satisfying and symbolic. It stands for everything you have to overcome in nature and what you have survived. A preparation for what is to come, and clear sight for the present moment. But letting go of the past is sometimes not that easy. As we wipe down the walls from the outside, we reveal that the ants have been busy on the inside. The paraffin oil, which prevents the ants from climbing all the way up the walls, has been smeared by their tireless attempts to escape and blocks a clear view of the inside. Did the ants somehow escape after all? Did their patience and perseverance reveal a weak point in the escape barrier? I couldn't find any weak points, but I cleaned the walls of the residue anyway, constantly worrying that I might be attacked by an ant. Our ants can jump up to 15 centimeters far, and their sting is very painful, even for humans. If I overlooked even one, it could result in enduring the most painful sting of all my ant colonies. I was tense the whole time and tried to not let it drive me crazy. The cleaning went smoothly, and applying their new escape barrier also went without incident. But something was wrong here. Where are the ants? I took a step back and something caught my eye that had been hiding right in front of me. It's this broken plant with its long tendrils. Somehow it seemed weird to me. I thought it had fallen victim to the fungus gnat larvae, but something didn't add up. Not all the plants in the vivarium were healthy and settling in well. The pink mosaic plant was slightly chewed on by the crickets, and overall it seemed rather weak. It seemed that the green mosaic plant on the left was healthy and proudly presenting its wonderful coloring, but the pink variant, although treated the exact same way, was having problems. How can something like this happen? I pondered the plant situation, but my train of thought was violently interrupted when I found something that made my heart sink. Do you see this here? It's an ant. One of our beloved ants. We finally found one, but somehow the joy got stuck in my throat. It hit me like a hammer to the chest when I realized what it was. This is what I absolutely did not want to see. It is a dead ant. Half hidden in the moss and lying there petrified. I could hardly believe it at first, but there was no doubt left. Her spread mandibles are a remnant of former hunting instincts, immortalized in a pose ready to grasp what we call life. The once alert eyes now seem dull and cold, but have lost none of their sharpness even in eternal rest. Glittering, solid, and yet soft and elegant, her body seemed like a miracle of nature, frozen just a breath away from life. But just as we see her stinger extended one last time here, her life has also ended, just as she had previously ended many lives with that very stinger. My frustration was immense. Half the vivarium seemed to be dying, and everything pointed to the ants being part of it. No sign of life for what felt like an eternity, and now dead ants in the vivarium. I prepared myself to end the vivarium here and to consider the vivarium a failure. I knew the trapjaw ants belonged to the species that are notoriously difficult to keep, but I thought after all these years I would finally be ready. Maybe I had overestimated myself. Maybe I was just unlucky. No matter what it was, I prepared to completely dig up the vivarium and recover a dead colony from its depths. I had learned a lot, and maybe I would start a second attempt at some point. In my resignation, I placed a cricket in front of a nest entrance I knew about, and nothing happened there either. An act of desperation and my stubbornness not wanting to let go, while inwardly I was already planning to process my loss. And sometimes, when you are down, when you no longer believe in anything and everything seems lost, two glowing points appear in the darkness. Two timid and skittish dots belonging to alert and very much alive eyes, quietly and hypnotically bobbing, surrounded by an aura of calm and calculated coldness. We witnessed a new night dawn, for at least one ant. She inspected with interest what had fallen from the sky. Does this mean the colony might be still alive? Is she possibly the only survivor? Shouldn't she be braver? Why doesn't she attack? Will she attack? Is the prey perhaps not moving enough? Should I use a new cricket? Thousands of thoughts shot through my head while I wasn't even allowed to move a single millimeter. The ants' vision is so good that they are actually aware I am there. Any movement of mine could startle her and drive her away. I held my breath while the ants seemed to wait up what to do next. But for now, she didn't seem to trust the situation. She retreated further into the safety of darkness, which is the loyal companion and ally of the ants. There, no one sees her, but she sees everything. But her instinct didn't seem to let her go. Once prey is tracked down and targeted, she cannot completely suppress her urges. As if guided by an invisible force, her body pushed millimeter by millimeter towards the prey. She flinched when I finally did move and had to break out of my stiff pose, and I thought the moment was ruined. But she ignored me as if I were just an uninteresting giant next door. She ventured so close to the cricket that you could feel the whisper of her breath on the prey. I didn't understand what was going on. The prey was right there and helpless, and the hunter was only a millimeter away. But something made her hesitate. Maybe she wasn't satisfied. Maybe she missed the direct hunt, the stalking, the jumping, the fleeing, and the uncertainty. An uncomfortable closeness hung in the air along with the feeling of the inevitable. But everything was sealed with a twitch. More alive than expected, the cricket struggled with reality. Neither fate nor luck showed it mercy. Barely trackable by the eye, the one-sided fight was over before the cricket had really even registered it. With a simple routine, which is everyday life for the ant and pure terror for the cricket, a chill runs down your spine. Sting after sting was placed, and only a few seconds passes until the paralysis sets in. In fractions of a second, the ant's venom was injected and forged a path through the cricket's limbs. The ant was fully focused on not letting go of the cricket and stung again. Confident and light-footed, she succeeded where so many before her had succeeded. She let go, full of confidence in her venom, and briefly checked to see if she was unobserved. Her performance was perfectly choreographed. Her attempts to carry the cricket were unintentionally comical. The cricket was clearly heavier than the ant, and that shouldn't really be a problem. With her vice-like bite and her immense strength, she can move things that are many times heavier than she is. But if she doesn't find a good grip, even the greatest strength is useless. The top layer of soil is loose and crumbly. It acts more like a quicksand than solid ground, and the ant was visibly stressed while trying to complete her work. You can't just hunt successfully and then suddenly have to leave all the food behind because you can't transport it. Time and again, she scouted the surroundings, looking for ways to carry her prey into the nest in the best possible way and to detect any potential enemies who might also fancy a juicy cricket. And somehow, the transport worked out, but unfortunately in the wrong direction. The ant had traction along the glass plane and could move much better. But to get the prey into the nest, an unsurmountable obstacle stood in her way. Again and again, she paced the environment, looking for suitable options to reach her goal after all. Her mind must have been racing too. It was a race against time. The longer she took to bring the prey into the nest, the more likely it was that someone else would come and snatch it. And then the ant was gone. And then she was back. Knowing that the ant wasn't being threatened by anyone, I watched her attempts with interest and had to smile a bit. I decided to carefully offer her a little help. I could, of course, place her directly in the front of a nest entrance with the prey and speed up the whole thing, but the vivarium is there to observe the ants and their natural behavior. With a twig, I wanted to give her a natural aid that she could regularly find in the wild, and that seemed to work a bit, but she didn't seem to grasp the grand principle behind it yet. Again and again, just when I thought she had it, she did a 180 and went in another direction. But then she reached the stones and it seemed like she now had solid ground under her 6 feet. But this was also abandoned again. I helped her a second time, but the ant was too caught up in the tunnel vision to realize what was happening around her. and just as I was about to help her a third time, there was suddenly a second ant. That's unbelievable. Had she called for reinforcements when she briefly disappeared? She's clearly not alone now. She's struggling, that is clear, but she isn't struggling alone. My heart skipped a beat when I saw her back up and weight melted off my tense shoulders. Tired, the worker briefly let the cricket be a cricket and headed back to the nest. Shortly after, a worker appeared again. But was it the same one? Had she turned around so quickly and emerged again? I had so many questions. How many ants have we seen so far? It is impossible to give a definitive answer. With teamwork, they hauled the cricket into the nest entrance, only to find out that it was too big for the opening. But that's not so bad. Over the years, I've repeatedly observed ants being very aware of the size of an object. In these cases, the nest entrance is usually temporarily enlarged until the prey is hoisted in sight. Then the nest entrance is reduced back to its original size, and it's as if nothing ever happened. You could see the ants pulling and tugging on the cricket from the other end inside the nest. Inside, they are guaranteed to be measuring and communicating right now about what needs to be cleared away and how to maintain the structural integrity of the tunnels while widening the paths. And then, as if the nest entrance were quicksand, the last bit of cricket disappeared into the depths. And I want to make one thing clear to you again. The venom of these ants does not kill, it paralyzes. The cricket was and is conscious during everything we have seen. I try to minimize suffering by pre-killing the animals I feed whenever possible. With our ants here, this is not 100% possible. If you keep these ants, you have to deal with this reality. But where is the food being taken now? How many ants are actually alive? And where are they? I was so surprised by the ants that I absolutely had to continue my search. And I never would have expected the conclusion the search would lead me to. Sometimes it can be so simple and yet so exciting. Hiding in the background, unseen by all eyes and veiled from the world, I discovered something. A realization, a feeling, a perspective, and a light. Do you see that? Do you see what I see? I could hardly believe it when I saw it for the first time myself. This is a chamber full of pupae, not just one or two. It was a whole pile of pupae, and it gets even better. Countless workers were taking care of them and tending to them. The pupae are huge and by far the largest pupae I have ever seen. But their discovery was immediately trumped. Once I peeked around the corner, there were suddenly two more chambers. How cool is that? And one of them was full of larvae. The larvae of the Harpegnathus venator are very mobile, and seeing them crawl through the nest is not uncommon. They are all different sizes, and somehow they give off a very hungry impression. The cricket is certainly arriving right on cue. I haven't been able to find any trace of it yet, but I was adamantly very distracted. How the workers cared for the larvae was heartwarming, and I could watch for hours. If there wasn't a third discovery that I absolutely wanted to share with you. Eggs! A whole stack of fresh eggs was right in the adjacent chamber. I counted at least 11 eggs, and workers kept coming by to check on them. I felt like I had won the lottery. I was so worried that the ants hadn't made it, and now I see the colony here deeply hidden in all their glory and in full bloom. That's not just more than I wished for. That is really, really good. These ants are not easy to keep, and giving them a natural setup is twice as hard. Getting it right on the first try so that the ants feel this comfortable gives me a massive boost of confidence for the next vivariums and colonies. And the ants can be proud of themselves too. Nobody fools them easily with their resilience and their skill. They maneuver in their environment as if it were made for them, which it kind of actually is. But the ants don't know that, and for them it's still a matter of life and death. These unique images were the reward for weeks of research and daily care. The giant pupae let their contents be seen in the light, and what can only be vaguely seen here will soon be a new worker, hunter, and inhabitant in our trap jar vivarium. The brown spot on the cocoons develops when the ant's digestive system has finished developing and is a sign that the hatching of a fully developed ant is imminent. Some already have this brown spot and many more will follow. From this, we can safely conclude that our colony will soon be a lot larger. Now it also explains why the plants on the side are damaged. The ants have literally dug the ground away from under their roots. It makes sense that you can't grow properly like that. Add fungus gnat larvae to the mix and the plants have a particularly hard time. Scattered in the tunnels, you can find numerous workers patrolling, and I was happy about every single one. But some of these also disappeared into tunnels and branches that we cannot see. I was fascinated by their buildings and how delicately they mastered their craft. And yet a bit disappointed that we will probably never see the majority of their skills. I caught a few workers placing pieces of earth in a side tunnel, which they apparently brought from the direction where the cricket must have been placed. I can easily imagine that a lot is being cleared away over there right now to make room for everyone. And you also have to realize that when we are not illuminating them, they navigate, plan and dig everything in complete darkness. An absolute masterpiece of nature, incomparable and unique. Minute after minute passed, and as I watched the ants, I wondered where their journey had already led them, how they are doing now, and what other stories the Vivarium will tell. To celebrate the day, I added more crickets to the tank. After all, we've seen how much brood and offspring are on the way in total. The colony mainly needs fresh proteins, and the way I estimate it now, that will probably soon be more than we suspect. And even if fate has only planned a short and peaceful stay for the crickets in the Vivarium, it's also great to watch how they move around the setup, only to then stick their head into the absolute worst option possible and take a drink as if nothing had happened. If a cricket only knew what it had just narrowly escaped. That was a real adventure. I can hardly believe what we've discovered, and I'm so grateful to the ants that we can observe them. I'm also grateful to the people who give a video a thumbs up and subscribe. You know how it is, and it helps an enormous amount. If you want to buy the ants some food, you can consider a channel membership. We start at €2 a month and help keep the channel alive. If you like the video, feel free to check out one of the 2 videos here, and we'll see us in a second.